Oh bloody hell, what's all this then? I can't hear a word you're saying, mate. Did any of you know my cousin? He said he was on a boat like this once. Oh bloody hell, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? This is what happens when you go little instead of... Oh God! Jesus Christ, mate. Oh, we're in for it now. Oh, he's lost his head, man. Oh God, how am I going to explain the bloodstains to the missus? What are you saying, mate? We're going to do what? We're going to go over the what? Can't go over the side, mate. That's where all the... Oh no. You want me to dive into the what? Oh Jesus, where am I? Yes. Oh God, I'm in more water. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brickmaker channel. I have a hell of a treat for you. Fallout London. And we will be doing one of my most popular series on this channel. Can you beat Fallout London as a World War II soldier? The game starts off as, okay, well, maybe the mod starts later on. Maybe it's gonna start any minute now. Any minute now. Everyone forget that you saw that. I got it working. I do want to take this minute of the video to just give a big thank you to the Fallout London Discord. Without their help, I don't think I would have ever gotten this to start working. So again, huge thanks. And for anyone who's having problems with Fallout London, please head over to the Discord. They helped me massively. But without further ado, let's start making our character. We make the same character for every World War II video. And name him Private Ryan with pretty generic stats. Now for anyone who's watched these World War II playthroughs before, all you've got to know is that I have to wear and use things that would be appropriate for a World War II soldier. Today being especially great because I can be a British soldier. We break out of all that water and start making our way through a very strange facility. Now something that was interesting for this channel run is that this is my first time playing Fallout London. I somehow forgot that fire was dangerous. If you've got this mod, make sure you always click this computer and make sure you say thank you for the Fallout London team. As I've said on Twitter before, this isn't a mod, this is a brand new game. And with our brand new game, we get a completely new Pip-Boy, with an interesting name called the Attaboy. I'm a huge fan of the look. I've seen a lot of mods like this before, where instead of having a Pip-Boy on your wrist, that you have kind of a little game handheld console, and you even get to blow the dust out of the little disk drive. You also have a torch instead of a Pip-Boy light, and very early in this game we are introduced to what you can only assume is the main antagonist. After that short meeting, I take this lift, not an elevator, and we finally get to learn his name, Mr. Smythe. We pick this new Kale lock, and find a note that says, "Do it." Now I'm not one to disagree with haunted paper, so I decided to do it as well. I actually assumed at this point that this is what you were supposed to do, and that you would spawn or load into a different area. It was not, it was simply going through this door. I find one of my favourite snacks. For anyone out there who hasn't tried a cherry bakewell tart, it's phenomenal. We use our tickets to get through the turnstile and make our way to the train. Now this is one of the most famous trains in Fallout history, because it's here that we load right back into the load screen and the real game can start beginning for Fallout London. We get to enjoy our new load screens and I am hit with another crash. But again, the Discord was a massive help. I got my buff out 4 installed and I can finally start playing the game. And we can start our first quest in London on the mend. The first NPCs we're introduced to are the Vagabonds. It's also here that we can see that the stat checks are back from Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3. So all of our stats will have an effect on potential speech options. And to be honest, from what I found, passing these speech options just gives you a quicker way of finishing quests. We receive our first unique weapon to Fallout London, the Bally Song, and we get to see the new perk tree. This is a huge testament to how much work has went into this. Again, thank you so much, Fallout London team. At this point I go on to complete most of the Vagabonds quests to get to the point where we're able to join. And I also get to pick up a few weapons that I'll be able to use. These syndicate pups have a 32 pistol and a double barrel shotgun. The 32 pistol was just the deliverer from the main game, which I used in my Fallout 4 video for World War II. Something I didn't use was a double barrel shotgun, but it was allowed. I pick up my first Scottish drink, Ion Brew, and instead of showing you all the Vagabonds quests, I decide just to show you that I don't decide to join, as this video is already going to be pretty long, and I never end up going back to talk to them. We run into our first companion, who's unfortunately being attacked by some stray dogs. He's a dog called Churchill, and after speaking to this factory guard, and well, it turns out those stray dogs were not so stray, he points us towards Thames Haven, and we get to take our first companion. I don't normally use companion in these videos, but his name is Churchill, and we know who that is.
Your bum. Sir.
Up your bum.
He was the man that led us through World War II. I do the quick quest in the Prilla Dog factory, winning it for the workers of course, and continue on towards Thames Haven. We go past a lovely little taste of home, Old Fesco. The actual British name is Tesco's, and it's the same logo, so lovely touch. And we meet up with Randeep, who is a Tommy soldier. And believe me, I'm already eyeing up the uniform. I also want to make a little point now while we're getting through the sewer here, that I will be trying to keep most of this video to just the main quest, as I don't want to spoil any side quests for you. But with that, we do eventually meet the people of Thames Haven, and well,
King hell are you, you great gangly fuck-knuckled twat, greasy-head cuntbag, fuck you!
God, that's so unfair. The people of Thames Haven turn out to be lovely as well. We meet with Rachel Hall. The Thames Haven people seem to be inspired by the people of Innsworth, a H.P. Lovecraft book. And I won't say too much, but there does seem to be quite a lot of H.P. Lovecraft references around this game. So it was interesting to see where the developers were inspired from. The quest we were given to by Rachel was to go save the ferryman, someone who may be able to help us about our past. Churchill shows off why he is the #1 dog in this game, and the ferryman gives us a nice little quest to help out the rest of the people. If I forgot to mention before, so far the main quest goes like this. We woke up in a factory, we got out of the factory, the train crashed, we came to Thames Haven, this guy seems to know something about it, we accidentally blow ourselves up and the game is over. Second attempt and I set the bomb and run to a safer distance. However, nothing ever kept Churchill away from danger, and he decides to stroll his way through the explosion like a badass. We meet Rachel Hall down in Thames Haven, and we find which is pretty much my hub for the entire game. This guy Abba sells a bunch of weapons. He sells 2 weapons in particular that I'm very interested in. I'm able to pick up the service rifle, which is the Lee Enfield rifle. I'm also able to pick up the submachine gun, which is the Sten. 2 weapons used in World War II by British soldiers. It's also here that I realise that this is the main quest route, as this doctor is able to complete half of our main quest of curing our affliction. We speak to the ferryman and he lets us know that there was a young boy here that also encountered one of these weird lab facilities. I thought I'd take a moment to admire London, and realise that I am bleeding profusely. So far the only outfit I've been able to acquire is this long trench coat and knitted hat, so it will have to do for now. Our quest takes us over to this little town, where I encounter the water. The way that the game adds a bit of difficulty and stops people just swimming from place to place is to put tons of radiation into all the water. Something that can be very deadly very quickly. But being a little bit more careful, I'm able to discover the crashed plane and speak to our good man here. Morgan lets us know that if I want to speak to the people within that plane, I've got to wipe out all the Mirelurk eggs. Sorry, did I say Mirelurk? I meant Mittenlurk. I'm not sure if that is a reference to Mitten Squad, but if it is, that's a lovely touch. But with all those eggs taken out, I'm able to insert the plane, watch Churchill play with a teddy bear, and meet up with Archie. Archie's friends were captured and taken to a laboratory similar to ours. So it's only natural, if we want to figure out our past, we've got to make our way to that same laboratory. The ferryman asked us to lower this crane, and I again experienced the pain of swimming in the Thames. This isn't something just for the game, this is also true to real life. I do want to take this moment though just to discuss my experiences so far playing this. Now you guys might have noticed that some of the footage is a little bit shaky, and that's kind of because I had a lot of frame rate issues in certain parts of the game. I'm sure as some of you know I play on a Steam Deck, so the game definitely was not designed specifically for it. But to be honest, up until this point it hadn't been that much of a big deal. Just walking through some places was a bit shaky, but other than the train crash, well, the train's crash, I've more or less had a pretty smooth playthrough so far. And also on top of that, I have had an extremely enjoyable playthrough. I mean, look at what I'm battling on this screen right now, a beef eater. The amount of British references, the Ion Brew, Bakewell tarts, pink wafers. I mean, the super mutant unalivers are, well, they're redesigned into these naval walkers, and it's just, I'm telling you, this wasn't anything that was rushed. These 5 years have went into unbelievable amounts of work. So much work that we've got to sit here and listen to this guy Beefy talk for about 20 minutes. The current screen went to 20 times speed just so he could hurry up. And he lets us know that we've got to pay at least 10 tickets so we can get across the bridge. Now before I describe how much I love the inclusion of tickets instead of caps, I want to show something that did kind of become more common as I got further and further into the game. What would end up happening is that a fatal error screen would come up, and I'd have to jump back and replay certain sections. So for anyone playing it, I recommend that you are constantly quick saving. These can really just come out of anywhere. Again, I'm sure as the game becomes more and more stable, this will become less frequent. But if you're playing it and having these similar problems, what I recommend is staring at the ground and then moving past the crash prone areas. It also helps to stare at buildings as you're walking. Now as these two guys discuss how we're going to ride this boat, I do want to talk about the inclusion of the ticket feature. It's just so smart. Like, they've clearly read the lore of the game. How caps were just an American thing that came out of California. So using Metro tickets for the currency in this game is just, they could have easily just left caps in, but they didn't. They went above and beyond, and that's why this mod has done so well. Now after fighting that cyber pigeon, I enter this monument. This is where Archie says he lost his friends. So we head into the basement and we uncover another Angel facility. Now from what we understand, this group Angel is what had captured us and had what had wiped our memories. So hopefully we're going to find some more answers. I'm more interested in the Tesco bags. A common thing used in this game for quests is find something, have to find another thing to turn on the first thing. And I'm a big fan of it because it really promotes exploring the facilities much more and more, instead of just the speedrun challenge kind of aspect. I use my 9mm pistol as to save ammo for the submachine gun. Plus it's a reuse of a Luger from World War II as well. I also switched back to my 32 pistol. We are finally able to use this computer and investigate a strange noise that we were finding. Now I'm sure whatever's going to be down here would just be similar to, you know, kind of vaults from Fallout 4 and stuff. And
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
now that is a clever way of getting super mutants into this game without making them super mutants. Again, a huge credit to them for really considering the lore when they put enemies in this game. But Jesus Christ, what an abomination. Horrible, horrible looking thing. It did give me a poisoner's double barrel though, so not so bad. And with that, we're able to figure out what happened to Archie's friend and get back out into the beautiful British weather. That's not radiation rain, that is just London rain right there. That is pretty normal for the London times. See, it doesn't seem to bother the kids, they're used to it. The ferryman asked us to take Archie over to the church, so we let Churchill go back to the hot dog place, and we meet up with some guy called Frenchman.
As I was saying, only two things the Frenchies are any good at: surrendering and kissing.
We decide to help out the Frenchman as he wants us to defend the church. Well, that's where we gotta take Archie, so it's a no-brainer. He lets us know that if we take out an entire group of hooligans for him, he will let us inside the church so we can speak to the minister. This will hopefully lead us to another guy that can help us uncover our past. Entering this hooligan hall, try saying that 5 times quick. Hooligan hall, hooligan hall, hooligan hall, hooligan hall, hooligan hall, hooligan hall, smell my balls. Again, hooligans in this game are just a different name for raiders. And for any of my American viewers out there, a hooligan is pretty much, well, you can get football hooligans. It's pretty much people who go out looking to cause trouble. When we arrive back to the church, the hooligans are also conducting their own assault. It only takes a couple of shots with the old Lee Enfield to take them out. The Frenchman decides to sit in the dirt, but he does let us enter the church. It's here that I decide to go back and get Churchill. This will be important later. And we're able to speak to some of the different reverends and fathers and people within the church. Bishop Waller, he lets us know about this ghoul who was Archie's friend who's gone missing. But before we get onto that, what is Dog doing here? How did Dogmeat get into this game? What an interesting thing, I can't believe they put him in here, and he's acting as if he's my companion. Well, not too much time to think about that right now, as we're going to speak to Father Luke. We've got to investigate some guy called Lazarus. He apparently may know something that we don't, but unfortunately he seems to be a chem seller. And Father Luke has been looking for many reasons to try and get him kicked out of the church. With that, we give over Lazarus' note to Luke, and speak to the Frenchman to see if he's one of the buyers. It turns out that the buyer is one of the grave digger's apprentices. He unfortunately doesn't want to fess up, so we have to go rummage around and find his stash. With that, he gives us a little bit more information, and we have to go speak to Father Francis, who lets us know that he saw something to do with Lazarus' stash out in the graveyard. With that, we're able to pick up the letter to Lazarus, and this gives us a potential location for him. He's went off to the Beef Eater Burger, which, by the way, there is a brand of restaurants in the UK called the Beef Eater, which are pretty good for a steak. It's here at this moment though that I decide to take Archie back to see what happens to Churchill. Churchill is going to the Red Rocket truck stop. With myself confused, I assume it meant the Prilla Dog factory as it said earlier, but I could not find Churchill anywhere. It's here that I decide to head back to the ferryman. This was the last place that we saw him, and it turns out he's still sitting here. However, every time that I ask him to come along with me, it seems that he's almost stuck. And out of nowhere, Dog just reappears. And Dog does act as your acting companion. So I imagine this is just some sort of glitch. As throughout the game, as I run around with Dogmeat, it does say that Churchill found something. So I think this is just a graphical glitch. It is what it is. It's a shame, but we must move on. It's here that I find out what the pound coins are for. You can use them to get Iron Brew from a vending machine.
Scotland forever!
We finally find the verbal agreement, which is a very interesting listen to if you've played the game. I mean, you gotta respect the guy who tried to get a verbal contract and hoped that these raiders would uphold it. But I digress. We've got to make our way over to a syndicate pup hideout, which is part of a gang called the Isle of Dogs. I have no idea if these guys can be friendly because, well, I did the first half of the Vagabonds quest, so if they're not hostile to you in your game, I may have just done a mistake. If they are hostile, then they're probably just a different type of raider. But what they truly are is a pain in the ass. Because in this area, there is tons of them. Like possibly about 30, and it's a pain when you've got very little ammo. So I have to start burning through more of my heavier weapons. And honestly, at this point, I was a bit worried about ammunition. But I did pick up an automatic ramshackle submachine gun, which looks like a variant of the Thompson, which make it fair game for this video. I enter into this den and find a syndicate sniffer. Ye old sniffer of farts. And they instantly turn hostile when I give them a bit of lip. I get an interesting glitch here as the sniffer accidentally opens up the jail where they were keeping the Lazarus. And because the quest marker says I must unlock the door, This kind of soft locks the game, as I'm no longer able to speak to Lazarus, as I'm no longer able to lock him in and then reopen the door. So I end up having to redo this entire part. I'm sure you guys can see for 20 minutes so far, I have already played this game for 6 hours. That does not include all the crashes and the redoing I had to do. I'm able to pick up a service revolver, which is also legible for a World War II weapon, and I unlock with the Winter Garden key. That frees Lazarus and moves the quest along, and he lets me know if I want more answers I need to go to a place called Islington. But it's covered in a noxious gas, so I have to get a gas mask from the Tommies. On my way to the Imperial War Museum, which seems right up my alley, I run into my first Atkins. All the factions kind of have them, they're kind of like worker robots. But this particular group of hooligans somehow have a Pyro Atkins. They also have an Atkins that has a rocket launcher, which for many of the people out there will think, that seems difficult, but to the trained eye like mine, this is a great opportunity to pick up an extremely powerful weapon. I'll be honest, I got taken out quite a lot here, not from the flamethrower guy, but from the rocket launcher guy. But after a couple attempts, I'm able to wipe out all the different hooligans, and I'm able to acquire 2 brand new, extremely powerful weapons. The first one being the explosive crude launcher, and the flamer. Now the flamer got completely redesigned to the M2 flamethrower, making it very legible for this playthrough, and the explosive crude launcher is, well, we'll call that one a bit of a stretch, but I will be using it. Most playthroughs I do as a World War II soldier, a lot of comments mention I should be able to use a rocket launcher, so I will in this playthrough. Mainly because I was just very interested in using all the new weapons. I arrive at the Imperial War Museum and meet up with General Asquith. He gives us a nice little quest to clear out the Bank of England from hooligans. I'm able to get the Frenchman for support and do my first quest for the Tommies, which feels very, fitting. At this point in the playthrough, I had no idea who the big factions were, who the main factions were, who I could finish the game with, so I thought at this point, right, I'm going to try and get myself into the Tommies as quick as possible. So completing this quest was a no-brainer. Plus it's needed for this gas mask anyway. The flamethrower in this game, it looks beautiful. And I was more than happy using it on this hooligan scum. You'll notice as well I've also picked up a nice little beret. Don't worry, it's a military one. And with that, I'm finally able to enter the Bank of England. Now, as a Scottish person, I would never be allowed to set foot in this door. But luckily today, we're playing a British soldier, so I'm able to get in without setting myself on fire. Behind this vault, we also get to see how the Fallout London team is also brilliant at skeleton storytelling. That's not even a joke, it was, when I opened that, I did feel a bit, a little bit uneasy seeing that. And we also encounter Dryad Nymphs, which just seem to be another version of ghouls. We're able to pick up a few gold bars as well, which is nice. Not as valuable as the Sierra Madre ones, but still a lovely little bit to get. I also noticed here that the pre-war money has also been changed to look like British notes, so again, mwah, chef's kiss. I grab the Bank of England keys and make my way into the main vault. We're able to take out all of the hooligan scum inside and fight more nymphs on the outskirts. I started using the flamethrower for them because in my head it was like Pokemon rules, they're like grassy kind of things. I assumed the flamethrower did more damage. No idea if it's true. I struggled to pick up this key because it was just hiding behind stupid little things. And using the manager's key, I'm able to get closer to the big boy, the main bank vault. Finally, I'll get to see exactly what the entire British economy is built on. Before that, we speak to someone through an intercom. They give us the code, and we're able to get ourselves in and actually end up freeing a bunch of trapped ghouls. We run into this woman called Kira, who's another potential companion. And although we can't use her for this playthrough, I probably wouldn't have chosen to do that anyway, as she seems like the Piper of the game. I phase myself through this ladder, and give the good news to Colonel George Major. He rewards us with the gas mask. Pretty cool design, and also a pretty interesting way of keeping us out of certain areas. The Tommies don't offer me any more quests, so the only thing I can do is to head over to Islington. It's again just covered with more hooligans, and we reach the Hackney Checkpoint. We arrive at the Hackney Checkpoint, and we are being, well, interrupted by a very interesting voice. Now this is a companion that I was very interested in using. Unfortunately, just not in this playthrough. For anyone who doesn't know, Mountbatten is the name of, I'm pretty sure, Prince Philip's family. And I'd love to put in a nice little David Icke clip of him saying Mountbatten. But unfortunately, if he pops up in these videos, I believe they get completely banned. So you'll just have to trust me that he says Mountbatten. Very cool. Seems to be a lot of stuff going on in Islington with gangs and stuff, but I'm no longer interested in this kind of stuff. We're interested in the main quest. So we head straight to the sewers and fight our way through a bunch of bloatflies. I'll be honest, down here at this point, it took me quite a while to figure out exactly where I'm supposed to be putting the codes from this computer. And after about 20 minutes, I do figure out it's actually here. I'll be honest guys, there was a lot of times where I had to sit down and there's a lot of 30 minutes of recording gameplay where I'm just running around areas. We get attacked by more Miller's men and enter the quarantine zone, which is kind of Fallout London's equivalent of the glowing sea. And yeah, the tunnel coffers are, again, the design and the storytelling in this game is fantastic, but god, they are a creepy looking thing. We get interrupted by a familiar voice, and we come up against more blank clones. These things might be more terrifying than the massive super clones. I hate the faces that they have. Like, no matter what, these people, this Smythe and this Angel Society, they are the baddies. They're kind of like the Institute. They're doing the same thing. They're developing and designing people. But the Institute says, well, it's a lot colder, but at least the people they have are functioning. The blank clones and these angel conscripts, my god, a horrifying sight, truly. We enter another one of these angel labs. I sleep in his bed to show how powerful I am. And something that's very interesting is that we use this hand scanner, and it lets us know that we have authorization to move through. This is the first indication in this story so far that we ourselves might not just be a man with amnesia, that we in fact are probably a clone. We enter the main angel lab, and unfortunately we just missed the train. God, hate that when that happens in London. There should be another one in 2 minutes though. And before we can turn off the self-destruct sequence, we've got to take out 4 massive super duper clones. I'm finishing them off with my bazooka. And well, if it worked once, it'll work again, and oh god, oh Jesus, ow. Instead of just taking our fingerprint, this thing takes a whole kit and caboodle. But luckily for us, that stab cures our last affliction. With lab rat gone and the self-destruction turned off, we actually appear to be stronger than we were before. We get another conversation with Smythe, and Dogmeat's really interested in this one. And we follow him down the train track. We pass through a bunch of very large mushrooms, and we complete the Heaven Slayer quest. We fight our way through the last of the blank clones, say a prayer for the coffers, and make our way back to normal civilization. Well, it was short-lived as we run into a bunch of cultists. They seem to be Cthulhu cultists, so if this was a normal playthrough I would investigate that more, but for now I'm just going to leave it. As we have finally arrived in Trafalgar Square. We meet up with the greeter. We do a little bit of buying and selling around the place and go meet with the Tommies who are guarding Westminster. Luckily for us, we have somehow been, put on the list. Again, more suspicious activity being shown here. And I will be honest guys, I broke a little bit and I really wanted a Tommy uniform to put this all together. So this Tommy's conscript is, well, let's just say she fell into the fire by accident. I check if anyone noticed and finally get myself into my nice spiffing uniform. Now I feel ready for the big city. When I walked into London for the first time here, the Westminster area, I was shocked. I really love the contrast of Westminster. The place where all the rich people live is still more or less intact. Well, mostly intact. There is a small case of the train we were trying to follow crashing in the middle of the streets. I also love that the firefighters use cryolators, that's a lovely touch. And if you notice that the game seems to be lagging a little bit, well, the entirety of Westminster just seems to have killed all the frame rate for my Steam Deck. It did take a few reloads to get through this, but we eventually find Mr. Smith's calling card. He's a senior civil servant, meaning that we're going to have to go speak to the people at Westminster. In a show of protest, I jump on all the fancy cars I can see, and we meet up with an Irishman who sounds a lot like Call Me Kevin, because I'm pretty sure he is Call Me Kevin. Again, love the touches of just YouTubers also being in this game. It really makes it feel like a true fan-made game. Arriving at Buckingham Palace, I passed through a garden where in real life I nearly got scammed by a bunch of people doing, well, card games, and I made a lucky escape. To get the information on how to get into Parliament, Call Me Kevin sent me off to take out some hooligans that call themselves Cavaliers. I won't waste too much time in here, again it's just clearing out another kind of den. But I do love the heavy Cavalier uniforms, they're pretty nice. With them taken out, Call Me Kevin gives me all the sweet details. If I want to get myself into Parliament to finally meet with Mr. Smythe, I'm going to have to get a petition signed by all the boroughs of London. And that includes a lot of places that we have not visited yet. That includes Camden, Hackney, Lambeth and Islington, the place that is completely infected. He does let me in a nice little secret though. A man over in a cafe that can help us out. But before I speak to him, wow, what a blast from the past, old Alistair Tenpenny from Fallout 3. A lovely touch. Clifford de Horry will forge any signature for our petition if we can bring him a letter. But for now, I want to complete these quests, as I am very interested to see what they have in store for us. So again, the first place I'm going to is right back to Islington. I say alright to odd boy, and arrive at the Islington Charterhouse to speak to the leader of the Miller's Men, Miller. Miller just wants us to help out one of his friends that he has a life debt with. But before I can do that, I check out the creepy horses. Horrible, horrible looking things. I thought at this point before completing the quest I would try and speak to all the leaders before I decided which one I wanted to do first. Then I run into a new enemy called the Famished. I wanted to add this in because really coolly designed, a big fan of stuff like this. Again, another moment of stopping to applaud the development team here. The place where I'm going now is Brickton. Again, my goal was to speak to all 4 of them before I started the quest, but it was here that I realised that these quests are probably going to take quite a while. As I meet up with the leader of Brickton, Roach. He looks, well, quite familiar.
I am an enchanter.
I'm sure that won't be the last Monty Python reference we get in this video. But after speaking to Papa Roach, we learn that him and the Tommies are having a little bit of an issue. This Lieutenant Doyle, he wants to civilise them, and he blames them for destroying some bridge to Croydon. I've been to Croydon, you should be thanking them for that. But what our task is to do is to make our way over to Croydon while building a bridge, to hopefully save some Tommies that got trapped, and to get the full story for what happened to the people who were originally building this bridge. However, to get access to all the supplies that I'll need, I need to make my way over to the Crystal Palace Maze. It's here that I encounter the first post box. I'm telling you right now, I did not see this coming. When doing this playthrough, I tried to keep my eyes away from all the different things that were being posted on Twitter and stuff. So when I walked up to that post office and that post box came alive, I did genuinely jump. I must admit though, at this point I'm realising in an effort just to get some sort of code for a door, I have to travel my ass halfway across the goddamn world. Through these different tunnels and different train parts, and to be honest, the amount of kind of lag and frames that I was losing very much varied. This cave was hell to move through. Not tough opponents, not even a lava, just trying to walk smoothly. But we do eventually come out the other side and arrive at the Crystal Palace Maze, which I think is a reference to the Crystal Maze, a popular show in the UK. We have to speak to the robot gardener. He lets us know that if we want this one code to the Pindar, we have to find about 700 other keys. And I'll just be honest, although this cut will be just me finding one key after another, I might have been in here for about an hour. Me getting this first key here and fighting this feral ghoul was not as simple as walking to the left and finding it. I walked myself through the chessboard to the exit about 700 times before I realised there was different parts of this maze. This part's heartbreaking because these thistles are heavily radiated and that makes me sad as a Scottish person. But I do eventually find the key with the little Cthulhu on the back. It's just a pain in the ass trying to pick it up through all the thistles. Again, as a Scottish person, this really hurts. The last of the difficult keys is hidden behind this note. I'm not sure which box it was specifically in because I accidentally set off all the mines right beforehand. But luckily my quick reactions got my ass out of there. And using the first key I found, I was able to pick up the second key. That allows me to open up the first gate, the second gate, and ye old third gate, making my way to the end. Just kidding, I had to head back to these post boxes to get the fourth key. Because the people who created this game love their attention to detail and not their attention to my time frames. I open the door for a pleasant conversation and immediately get shot. That happens a little bit too often in London, especially in Crystal Palace. After taking some pot shots, the gardener comes out of nowhere, and I love his little trolley legs. I did listen to a lot of what the robot was saying at the start, but even now watching this back and doing the audio, I have no idea what this gardener's motives were. Why was he such an ass about this Pindar key? Why won't he let me leave? Why is he wearing a bandana? After picking up the exit key, I finally get the Pindar key and I'm finally able to find my way out of here. I get a notification for a quest I am far too scared to click on and unlock the exit. It's here we were introduced to a very scary enemy. Now at first I realised that its name, the Gehenna, was similar to a special shish kebab in Fallout New Vegas. But this was no shish kebab and this was no sword. This was a grotesque monster which I'm pretty sure is a new skin of a super mutant behemoth. I discover the actual area of Crystal Palace as I get a very good look at this Gehenna. I'm not sure what this means. I assume this is a reference to some sort of show, anime, or something like that. But you guys can let me know down in the comments, because it's definitely not a reference to a shish kebab. I'm able to input the Pindar key and pick up the construction resources, which at this point I am very much struggling to carry all this stuff. Thank God I have dog meat with me. I use a bunch of resources and just like that, with about 5 seconds passing, I have somehow built a massive bridge. I never lived to spot though. I never ended up on the other side as I built the bridge. I just started hammering away and the bridge started building. I encounter more pretty high leveled feral ghouls. And at this point I'm just trying to get myself through this. Like the quest is interesting, it's kind of cool, but at this point I was feeling like I was doing a lot of running around for very little progress. I think if I was to replay this story again, I would probably just get Roach's signature forged. Because this is a lot. I finally tracked down the Lost Tommies who are battling another Gehenna. And this bazooka is coming very much in handy. I meet up with Lieutenant Buckley who gives us the real story. The Brickertons and the Tommies work together and a big mistake happened, so it's no one's fault. And we were able to pick up the support beam to build our second and, thankfully, last bridge. We finally arrive at Croydon, which it looks like the place has improved since the war. We meet up with a character called Mantis. We meet up with Mantis, who I'm pretty sure is another reference to a YouTuber, TK Mantis. After speaking with him, we speak to the leader of Croydon, and we report back to Lieutenant Doyle, who is by no means impressed and wants to hunt down the Brickertons that caused the collapse. Chief Roach is looking as cool as ever, and with that all resolved, we are finally able to get our petition signed by the people of Brickerton. With that, I decide to head straight back to the big church so I can help Miller with his quest. We get to meet this man, John Marsh, to which if this is a reference to anything, I'm not sure, but he sounds like he's led a pretty cool life. Turns out he saved Miller's life at one point and he wants us to pay off his life debt. Marsh's only request is for us to find his wife and to put her out of her misery as she became a feral ghoul. And that takes us to the London airport, which, to be honest, just spoiling it now, this is a much shorter, much compact quest, so if I had done this one first, I'd have probably been a lot more motivated moving on to the next ones. Because at this point in this playthrough, I have pretty much already overtaken any Fallout 4 challenge run's time. And I have no idea how far I'm into the main quest at this point. But with all that, I decided the best way to deal with Jane Marsh is to roast her alive with the flamethrower. She is a bloated, glowing one, so it took pretty much all of the ammunition I had. But it was a nice way to test all the different weapons and see how powerful they really are. From what I can tell with the flamethrower, it's pretty good, it's pretty strong, but tanky enemies just don't ever seem to go away. And speaking of going away, once you get Jane Marsh down to half health, you gotta go re-find her again. It's here that I'm begging that it's not going to be back to full health, because I'm starting to get quite worried about my ammunition. Like, I'm pulling out every single little thing that I've got, service revolvers and all. And would you look at that, she's back to full health.
Don't fucking dare! Missy, come here, you fat-mouthed little stupid bitch.
I was very much concerned at how much ammunition I had. But when I hit a critical strike in VATS with this flamethrower, that is a pretty sweet cutscene right there. It's like that scene with Leonardo DiCaprio, you know, the one in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when he's toasting the Nazi. Except this isn't as bad as one of them. At this point I'm actually starting to have to use Hero, which is Fallout London's variant of Jet. And with that I'm finally able to take out Jane Marsh and let old... Oh no. Oh, that is quite sad. Oh wow. That's good storytelling, that. Well, with that sad news, we return back to Miller and give him the bad news. Again, I'm going to give him credit. That did make me genuinely sad when I returned back. That's half the signatures already done, and now it's time to head over to meet with the Pistols, I'm sure they're called. And make sure to pick up another Iron Brew on the way there. I do love that in this game, Iron Brew is the biggest selling thing in all of the UK. It's actually only in Scotland. It's here that I notice another Tommy is holding a certain thing that I want. Similar to the Tommy uniform, I get myself the light machine gun. For anyone out there who's not sure, this is a Bren machine gun, something that they used in World War II. And in fact, one of my favourite weapons from Call of Duty 3 back in the day. That is one of my most favourite World War II games I ever played. We meet with this police officer who points us in the direction to meet the gang called the Pistols. Now, I'm definitely hoping that this gang leans a lot more towards Miller's men than they do lean towards Brickerton. And I'm a big fan of the atmosphere in their kind of den. The kind of techno vibe. Out of all the gangs I've met so far, this is probably my favourite. Unfortunately though, I have to join the Pistols to get her to sign it. Which means my job is now going to clear a bunch of different hooligan gangs. Now I know, in the comments you guys are probably writing stuff like, you can just get their signature, you can just use 10 of whatever stat you need. But I was actually very interested in seeing these quests through out of interest. But what I'm starting to realise here is a lot of it is just clear out hooligan gang from this area, clear out hooligan gang from that area. I don't think it's repetitive because I am trying to run the main story as quick as possible. So, and I think in an effort to make it as quick as possible, I think I may be skipping over a lot of the nuances games have. I've also just picked up a short combat shotgun because it reminds me of the trench gun from Call of Duty World at War. And they use a trench gun in Call of Duty 3 as well, so there you go if you wanted to know. After cleaning out all the hooligans though, I gotta go pick up a weapons cache for another member of the Pistols. I fast travel to this church and have to triple check my attaboy just to make sure that I am in an appropriate place. I have somehow fast travelled right under the church. Luckily I don't soft lock myself in, I'm able to jump out with no problem. Still, it was a little bit scary. I start making my way towards this new area, and surprisingly it's not like a new load zone. Lewisham just opens up normally and doesn't have a load screen in between. So my first thought is it's not going to be too much of a big area. Unfortunately, you are forced to be sidetracked by this asshole called the Bookie. And what the Bookie does is he wants you to pick up this sack and take it to the top of this building while taking out hooligans. I tried to skip it, I tried to avoid it, he just keeps saying he's going to shoot me. And when I finally finish it, I get told to go back and speak to him. And out of nowhere, I somehow complete that. So I don't get the 1,000 caps he promised, I don't get anything. I just wasted my goddamn time. Entering the police station, oh, and the bookie has arrived. I'm unable to talk to him, so I'm just going to move on with my life and try not to get too upset. This quest here is where I start to realise just how much I love this short combat shotgun. It shreds through these guys. And to be honest, throughout this playthrough, this shotgun probably became my favourite weapon. It's just a shame I never kept it fully stocked up in ammo all the time, or I'd probably have not stopped using it. After clearing out as many of the hooligans as I can, I finally get to the hooligan cycle at the end and find the weapons cache. After taking them out, I can pick up the weapon shipment, and as a very nice reward from old Captain Reasonable, I get a weapon called the Clash, which is a legendary variant of the Thompson type ramshackle submachine gun. Also, the Clash is a reference to a band, British band, called the Clash. But we're not done yet!
But wait! There's more!
I have to go help out with their water situation, which pretty much means I gotta go to their water filters and kill what's ever hanging around them. I meet some girl called Polly Esther. Didn't like the fact she was wearing Kate's clothes. And when I reach these water purifiers, there's pretty much some sort of ghoul that I've got to take out. Again, these are good quest lines, they're interesting, it's good to help out, and they have quick options. But at this point, I was getting a little bit tired, and I was just kind of wanting to get into Parliament at this point. And I get it, this is my choice, but for the next guy, I just want to preface now why maybe I make a decision later on, which is certainly different from what I've been saying previously. With the ghouls all taken out, I can return back to Polly, who I'm pretty sure wasn't wearing a hat before. She does make me run over and just speak to this kid for no reason. You just walk through the dialogue with him and then he agrees to do what they want. Something about giving out water to the people of Camden. So I then have to go back and speak to her again. And she's good, okay, happy. I'm able to head back to Palmyra. And with that, we have solved their water issue for the entire area. Surely at this point, we're all good. Old Apache Alice is going to sign this petition, isn't she? She's going to do it, isn't she?
Done. Standing here with a bunch of idiots. Fuck you all. Good luck, superstars. Fucking useless.
No, I gotta go speak to some guy called John. And John got his feelings hurt because some gentry fancy pants was able to trick him. And he wants me to go into Westminster and find the evidence about Malcolm Rhodes. It's at this point I look at Big Ben and I beg for reprieve. And I head into a bar which is selling alcohol, which is exactly what I need at this moment. I actually do dig the interior quite a lot. And I get to meet Malcolm Rhodes. Right before this, I made sure that I drank a big bottle of vodka. So I'm able to use my strength check just to force him to sign this goddamn paper. Because he was asking if I wanted to do a little bit of a quest for him, and to be honest, I was not in the mood. And when John Strutter asked if I did it by nefarious means, I just lied. I just lied to John because I was tired. I was tired of the pistols. I went back to Alice, and finally, she has signed my petition. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, pistols. Now it's time to head over to the shop so I can speak to the Rondels. Now at this point, Prince Pete Davis won't even speak to you. And from what I can guess, I have to complete the Rondel questline. Fuck that. The one and only time I'm going to do this, I'm going to take Pete's paper and I'm going to go and forge his signature. Just for my own mental constitution. And since I'm only doing one of these, it only costs 100 tickets, so it's not a big amount of money out of my account. With that, Call Me Kevin has somehow went missing and we have to speak to one of the guards. He seems very impressed with our petition, and we must pass through the discreet entrance. I'm feeling reinvigorated now. I feel like this main story is finally getting the wheels turning again. Let's hope nothing stops me now. just stuck in this old postbox. Hear ye, completed. I'm sure nothing can go wrong. Oh God, they're gonna blow up my postbox. I'm in here. Jesus, let me out. They don't blow me out. I just black out. I black out before I tap out, bitch. And it's all went to pot. I have now awakened in some sort of prison cell. With all my weapons missing, the Angel Trooper lets me know that he has somehow gained the ability of free will. I sit on the toilet to ponder these revelations and decide to go along with his plan of breaking out. With chiseling my way through the bottom of the cell, I'm able to speak to this handsome devil, old Nilsson. Nilsson causes a distraction, which for some reason makes all the guards go to my cell, not his. And luckily they never took my cigar, so I come out of my cell and I'm able to beat the guards to death with my World War II guaranteed hands. I won't use any of their weapons to get my way out. I'm going to have to fist my way through this whole place. That isn't the first or the last time old Brickmaker is going to have to do that. And I finally get all my goodies back. And luckily it puts them all back onto the little wheel, so that was a good 5 minutes I saved. I blow my way right through all the guards with my Bren, and eventually reach a nice back entrance into Scotland Yard. Oh, I thought the flag was going to come up. The Angel Trooper that had somehow gained the ability of free will told us to go to the Science Museum to meet up with a man called Mr. X. Mr. X is apparently on the outs with Smythe, and should be very willing to help us take him out. In here we fight our way through mostly Securitrons and Protectrons, and get to see one of our first little Vault Boys. We start encountering the Angel Bots, which to me should have been a little bit of a red flag to who was really running this place. And we face some more Angel Conscripts. It's interesting that they're called conscripts because conscription means that they've been forced to fight. But they're clones, so they're kind of been born to fight. I've lost full confidence in the point I was trying to make. I also shot a scientist. But hey, I'm able to pick up an MG42 heavy machine gun. Now that is a very World War II weapon right there. And with my new big intimidating weapon, I decide to confront Mr. X. Mr. X spins a very interesting tale of how Smythe has somewhat got the hump with him, and that he wants to plan to take him out and that we can help with that. We've got to head ourselves over to a tournament in Westminster and plant a bomb. Watching this back now, I'm frustrated at how naive and silly I was. But more on that later. We got to speak to this man in a very nice hat. We don't have a ticket to get in, but the greeter is willing to give us one. Even though I tried to flash random paper at him, he doesn't seem to buy it. All he wants us to do though is to get rid of a robot. This guy here, Guido, sounds a lot like Grado. And he wants 300 tickets to piss off. And at this point I've been selling pretty much everything I've been picking up, so tickets at this point isn't much of a problem. I enter the tournament grounds and meet up with a member of Camelot, Tristan. I'm sure we'll see him again later. And if I'm perfectly honest, this area right now was eating all of my frame rate alive, so I didn't want to spend too much time in here. Our mission was to find an explosive device, and Crazy Kayla just seemed to be selling one. After paying about 700 tickets, again I've got a lot but I ain't got much to burn, we get jump scared by the same Angel Trooper that helped us broke out. He actually tells a really sad story. And at this point I was well hook, line, sinker believing every single bit of this. So I sit on my bench and wait for the festivities to begin. While watching this part, my game was brutally struggling to play this through. So I decided that I was going to have to start staring at the other chairs to help the frame rate along. Unfortunately, that means I missed the explosion. But the game is still running, so that's a win-win. It is, however, revealed that Mr. Smythe had planned this all along. And in fact, this explosion right here is going to get him all the power that he wants. So it would appear that Mr. Old Private Ryan has been tricked. And he's still battling through the frame rate. I mean, look at that. I'm not slowing any of this down. That is just what happened as I was playing. It's here though that we start entering into the third act. And with that, we've got to decide who we're going to speak to, and who we're going to side with. Now, there is 3 main factions that you can go into the endgame with. This place here where I must wear this high bowler hat, this would be siding with Mr. Smythe. He wants us to take the initiation and join up with him. At this point I had suspicions that he was going to be our somewhat pseudo father. The creator of the clones, in which I think I am one of these clones that have been made. We don't know of who, but I believe that Mr. Smythe is the person that created us. However, after hearing that sob story and all the evil things that they have been doing, there's no way I'm siding with them. We also got a quest marker for the 5th column. And you'll see them later on why I didn't go with the 5th column. Because that leaves only one left, to make our way to Camelot.
Camelot. Camelot. Camelot. It's only a model. Shh.
But before entering Camelot, I must take out this massive monster. A bloat mother. I mean, it just makes sense. The bloatflies have this big, weird, sort of queen variant. And after taking him out, I can speak to Sir Lancelot.
Tale of Sir Lancelot.
And it's here where I get to have my first walk around the new Camelot. And our very first interaction is having a battle to the death. I will have to wait for Arthur's attention as we have to watch 2 squabbly knights argue over who set fire to what. And it's a little bit concerning just how much Arthur seems to be enjoying this. I mean, look at that smile. He gives us the option of joining Camelot, and I say yes. As I did do a quick read online, and out of the 3 final factions, joining Camelot seems to be the most appropriate for a World War II soldier. However, that doesn't mean that I don't still want to help out the Tommies. So I won't leave too much of the footage in, but I do help out Private Tommy here, and go look for the missing Tommies. At this point I still thought I could side with the Tommies, but it didn't end up being like that, so I'll just go over the quick parts here. During this quest I found a very special shotgun. It was called She Who Dares. And there are a few weapons in this game that have these cool special animations when they're being introduced to you. Another great piece of storytelling and a really nice bit of slowing down of pace for this game. Again, these people know exactly what they're doing. I mean, look at this. That is, how cool is that to introduce a weapon that I've already been using for most of the game. But I do love the camo that it's got. And for anyone in the comments, let me know down below if there's any sort of legendary effect on these type of weapons. Or is it just purely to look cool? But without spoiling any more of this quest, I decide to set off the self-destruct and escape back to Private Tommy. As I said before, I don't want to spoil too many quests that don't have too much of a bearing on the main quest line, because even though I go back with my great deed done, I also decide to complete the rest of the quest for them as well. And despite all that, General Asquith will not ever ask me to join the Tommies. So there's only one last thing to do, and it's to head back and to begin the quest line for Camelot, taking me into the final act of the game. The reason specifically I wanted to side with Camelot is because on the Fallout wiki it did say that the Camelot are somewhat inspired by Arthur and the Round Table and World War II commandos. So with that, I'm going to go help with the Bailey and the Fletcher's problem. This seems quite inspired by Game of Thrones, in which Game of Thrones is extremely inspired by English history. And after investigating the fire that had started, I speak to Thomas Bailey, who finds me a letter from Edward Fletcher saying that he was the one that started the fire and he was planning to blame the Baileys for it. When you take it back to Edward, he doesn't even buy it for 1 second. It looks nothing like his brother's handwriting. So I decide to investigate myself. Speaking to Ryan Bailey, if you've got high enough perception or another skill, you're able to get him to confess to the real reason the fire started. A pretty simple reason, and to be fair, Arthur also agrees. He was attacked by a ragstag, the fire started, it was no one's fault. However, their lie has caused a lot of pain and the unnecessary death of one of their family members. However, I'm not one to judge because I now have to explain to Arthur that I was the one that set off the attack at the tourney. And he's willing to forgive me. And with that, I'm invited into their grand house, and Private Ryan can start making amends for the silly mistake he made. I get to meet Merlin and I get to meet Percival. They're all named after old knights of the Round Table, which I really do think is a lovely touch.
We're knights of the Round Table, we dance when we're able.
And my first quest for Camelot is to head back to Brickton and help out Chief Roach with his Tommy problem. And at this point I was starting to feel like I may have chosen the wrong path here, because my mission was to start messing with the Tommies and affect their camp. And that's not what a World War II soldier would do. However, at this point my only other options are to join the gentry, which, no, and to join the Fifth Column, which are pretty much just fascists. You'll see why later. It's a simple task. I've just got to turn off their turrets, put some laxatives in their food, and spread rumours about Lieutenant Doyle. That doesn't make me feel too guilty because Lieutenant Doyle is a bit of an asshat. And with all 3 tasks done, I'm able to report back to Chief Roach, who for some reason just gives me like 2 more tasks to do. He definitely could have gave me these tasks the first time I was here. But these tasks are a little bit more simple. This time I'm only going to set fire to some poop and do some graffiti on the wall. I mean, at this point I feel this is the most British I've felt this entire playthrough. Setting fire to crap and drawing on walls and spreading rumours. I mean, this is just like high school again. Chief Roach has taken off his hat, which has made me upset, but I understand his reasons. And we get to meet up with Major Simison Sneed, an old ghoul that seems to be an old officer from before the war. And we have one simple thing that we want to do. We want to make his life a living hell, by dressing up and pretending to be Robin Hood. We come over to speak to these 2 privates, and unfortunately I don't have the stats appropriate to resolve this peacefully. I mean, it's a little bit rich. I mean, I've already taken out 2 Tommies just for their outfits and their guns, but now I feel guilty for taking them out for this quest. I feel like my character is very conflicted at this current moment. But with all the deeds done, I report back to Sneed and let him know that his life got from crap to even worse. He orders all the men to pack up and leave, and with that Brickton agrees to join Camelot, and he had his hat back on, which is good. We report back to Percival, and he seems very happy with our work. It tells us that Merlin will have another quest for us. So we head down and we get to see Merlin absolutely chewing out this pure Camelot scout. What Merlin wants us to do is to head over to a Camelot outpost and snap it into shape. The reports are that the knight that's already there cannot get them to follow orders, so I need to peek my little head in and see what's going on. We speak with Gawain, and she has a whole list of things that she wants this camp to do to get back into fighting shape. I make the executive decision to not do any of that and just use my charisma skill to bypass pretty much everything. I mean, the main reason is because all we're doing is attacking a factory, and we really don't have to run to the Fletchers, to the Baileys, all over goddamn London just to get some sandbags. With all the members of this camp ready for a fight, we report back into Gawain, and for some reason get ready to attack in the daylight because night cover wasn't good enough. I mean, she was right in the end because we were completely unopposed getting into the factory. I mean, the only thing stopping me getting in is the old Camelot soldiers. But this is a perfect little spot for the M2 flamethrower as it is very tight quarters and all the hooligans bunch up together. The biggest worry is accidentally blowing myself up. The hooligans really don't stand much of a chance. There's about 700 Camelot soldiers that ran in. I mean, it makes me feel a lot more confident in my decision to not re-bolster that outpost because that could have just been a huge waste of time. We take out the leader Harvest and report back a job well done. We go back to speak to both Merlin and Arthur, and we have a very sensitive quest that we need to complete. It would appear that 2 Camelot soldiers have decided to destroy a train station. And with us accepting that quest, we have completely gone past the point of no return. There's no other faction we can side with. Comes at a bad time because, as I said, we've just been caught doing a horrible act at a train station. We get the full story from Percival and Merlin and head straight over to the cross station. We meet up with the same soldier that gave us the gas mask earlier, and he lets us in. We enter up and yeah, it is a bad sight to say the least. If 2 Camelot knights did this, it makes It puts a little bit less hurrah hurrah into this faction's perspective. We speak with Lance Corporal Briggs, who was injured in the blast, and he lets us know that the two people that caused this ran off into the tunnels. We follow closely behind, and we end up running into a lot of different rat pups. And a very big scary stunted radger. I've only ever seen one badger ever in the wild in the UK, so it's nice to see my second one. And we finally catch up with Tristan, the night that we met at the tournament ground where well, I did a bad thing. They explain that the fifth column have captured his family and he had to do it to save their lives. And to be honest, I'm not in a position to judge, so I decide to help them out and go off and save his family. This is why I did not want to side with the fifth column or even go and hear them out. They are pretty much the fascists of this game. They keep it a little bit unclear throughout the game, but by the end we know fully that they are the bad guys. We meet with this guy called Tucker, who is an absolute wanker, to put it British. Total twat, stupid little butt nugget, and I'm very glad that he decides to attack me. We jump straight into that, and I start doing some John Wick style assassinating here. I mean, they must have been absolutely terrified the way that I was just popping these guys. They must have thought I was shooting a bazooka the way they were blowing up. We learn that there's a Camelot spy who's been giving away the real names of all the different knights. This is what gave the fifth column the ability to capture some of the knights' family. We head back and I let them know that their family is safe and they can head back to Westminster. Let's somewhat say it's me trying to pay back the lives that were lost at the tournament. When I return to Camelot, I am now one of the 9. Hoorah, as they say. I'm one of the Knights of the Round Table. Dun, 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 dun. But there's no time for singing. They are not happy to know what happened, but at least they got the truth. Some people believe that Arthur does not want to ever take action, but unfortunately, action comes to him. Because of what's happened at the metro station and probably what happened at Brickton, the Tommies attacked Camelot. This was difficult. I didn't like doing this, I didn't like fighting back. I really wanted to end this game with the Tommies. But this seems to be the necessary evil. So with all the Tommies inside Camelot, we have to take them out one by one. It's here where we get to really see Lancelot in action. We rescue Percival. I mean, luckily with all these bullets flying, he doesn't get hit by one. That's a lucky break on our part. And with Merlin hurt and Arthur pissed, it's time to finally react. We head right back out into the courtyard to finish off the last of the Tommies. But it's a somber victory. Although Arthur is furious with this attack that's happened at Camelot, he thinks there must be a better way. So as we finish off the last of the Tommies who are just trying to retreat, Arthur comes up with the plan. We need to try and get the Tommies into the fold. We need to try and see if we can get them all to work together. And despite our northern outposts being, well, wiped out, maybe I should have put those fortifications in, the plan is still set. First, we've got to find the spy within our camp. Once we capture our own spy, we can go let the Tommies know about the spy in their camp. And there's only one person to speak to about this. Good old Lancelot. Now although he's feeling a little bit sorry for himself, he lets me know there's a bunch of Tommy soldiers that I can go and, well, not interrogate, because I'm wanting to start helping them out. So I meet Lieutenant Tinkler and I give him some medical treatment. With that, he lets us know about how they communicate with their spy. And when I arrive to the post boxer, I mean, the Camelot already got to it before I did. I just got the finishing touch. We read the letter to the spy and I go back to show it to Lancelot. Now here I got very confused, because out of nowhere, Lancelot just starts a fight with you. And I started to think, crap, did I pick the wrong option at some point? But it becomes clear very soon what Lancelot's trying to do. The letter lets us know that this spy has an issue with gambling. So Lancelot and I put on a fight and let people gamble. When I end up beating Lancelot, like no one expected I would, all we have to do is find a gambler that doesn't have any money left. And what we find is this Camelot Levi is the one who wrote this letter. And he immediately lets us know. Lancelot decides to throw him in a cell so Arthur can deal with him later. And we report back all of our findings to King Arthur. It's here that we've got enough evidence and enough information that we can head back over to the Tommies. And luckily, I think the good deeds I've been doing in the past is enough for me to be able to head in and speak with the General. But unfortunately, the General is not there. Instead, we have the Colonel Major, who we have already done multiple quests for. We're able to use our high perception and ask him why the General is missing. He points us into the direction of a man called Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen gives us a little bit too much information and points us into the right direction of where the General could be. With that information, Arthur's able to point us into the right direction and figure out exactly where the General might have been during the battle. He would have came from the south, which doesn't make sense according to Arthur. So we meet up with the medic K in the field, jump on top of this huge tractor, and start seeing what we can see. And what this sailor came to see was pure General Atchcliffe sitting in the middle of this field with his head blown off. We do, however, get this cool, nice little service rifle with the Union Jack on it. We're also able to pick up a General's uniform, and we can take his entire body back to K to examine. What K figures out, and how I'm able to help with my Medic 2 skill, is that he was shot in the back of the head with no exit wound, making this clearly some sort of sabotage. Someone close to him and someone he trusted behind him was able to take him out. Colonel George Major lets us know that if we can figure out who did it, he'll side with Camelot instead of the gentry. So with upgrading the General's rifle, I head back to Westminster to track down some doctor who was the go-between between the spies. We meet up with this Francis Ingley, who is on the side of Camelot, and who I was supposed to meet at a fountain, but I was unable to get the game to record it. Our job right now is to leave as many listening devices around this place as we can, and also follow the doctor to figure out any information that's possible. We're able to plant one bug, and after sneaking past the good doctor, we're not able to plant the second, as I do not have high enough charisma. With that, we head back into the last room, and we're able to do the third one. Because if there's one thing my character does, it's get on with dogs. And like I say, dogs love me. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and with that the doctor starts running off to take a phone call. Luckily he doesn't find me standing in the room with the phone ringing suspicious, so I just decide to stand in this little cubby hole and listen to everything he says while he keeps the door open. This was obviously the dumbest thing the doctor could do, so I then get sent off to do the meeting instead of the doctor. The doctor was meeting with this guy, Whitehouse. I tried to trick him and say I'm the doctor, and he doesn't buy it for a damn second. So poor old Horatio has to get put down with the good old advanced redcoat. I have to do this entire battle while the game kinda glitches out, as this part of Westminster does not like the Steam Deck. But after PowerPointing my way through that battle, Horatio spills the beans and tells us that Major Jonathan Allen is his spy. We're even able to pick up some proof. We report back to Frances and let her know the good news, and she tells us that we should go speak to Arthur immediately. We immediately hand over all the proof to Colonel George Major, as there's no point of faffing about, and I show them the proof. It's here where you have to genuinely listen to like a 5-minute speech from Jonathan Allen that you cannot skip, and at the end of all that, old Colonel just tells him, nah, not buying it, you're going to jail. And with that, the Tommies have now agreed to take the side of Camelot. Finally, at this point in the game, I've gotten the Tommies on side. I'm finally part of the Tommies. But no time to celebrate, as I've got to go to the Jack the Ripper Museum. It's here where I've got to meet up with Bedivere. There's definitely no way I said that right. And she gives us a really simple quest. Wipe out the entire Tower of London from an entire hooligan platoon. And do I get any support? You're damn right I don't. So I decide to whip out the big guns. I also decide to put in some nice military tactics. I run right into the front of the tower, get into a strong position, and let the Beefeaters run at me. Now the Beefeaters are just hooligans with extra steps. And I mean, I think they just eat people. But we've got our job, we've got to clear this place out so Camelot can set up another base of operation for Westminster. When I enter the enclosed space, it's just natural, the M2 flamethrower pretty much jumps out of my bag, and I just start blazing. It's actually a good thing that they didn't send any of the Camelot squires or spies or whatever they are with me, because I don't think they would have been able to survive my flame. Because while I'm down here, I think I only take my finger off the trigger to reload. We defeat the Raven Master, which has actually got pretty sweet clothes, and report back to Bedivere our good work. I don't get as much as a thank you for clearing out that tower by myself, and I have to go meet back up with Francis. This time we're going a little bit more espionage. I'm going to dress up as a member of the 5th column and head into this base. That's no problem, I don't think I'll be able to blow my disguise, I'm very stealthy. Huh? What? I didn't even do anything, I just walked in. Did I really?
You fucking donkey!
Oh well, there's no point crying over spilled espionage. I'm just going to have to take out all the 5th column agents the good old fashioned way. After reaching down into the basement and my Sten gun deciding to glitch itself out as I shoot, I'm able to sabotage the LT power module. I'm a little bit hurt because Francis gives me shit for not being able to stay undercover. I mean, I don't know what else I could have done. And I report back to the Tower of London to learn about the next stage of our plan. This time I have to do some more espionage, but I'm able to do it successfully. I'm supposed to grab the coordinates for the 5th column base. Mark those coordinates, head back to the Tower of London, and we're able to now set off some attacks. A quick detour to save Kay from some beefeaters, I mean what a horrible fate that could have been. And we are seriously starting to get into the endgame now, as we attack the 5th column's base. Now, if you guys wanted any more proof that the 5th column is the fascist group, then look no further than their dog. Their dog is called Oswald. I don't know about you, but I think that is a reference to Oswald Mosley, a leader of the British Fascist Party during World War II. I'm not sure if the rest of their names are references to it, but I think it's pretty concrete at this point. It's here that I feel very confident that choosing Camelot was the correct move for a World War II soldier. If you guys disagree, let me know in the comments. Unfortunately, we aren't able to reach the leader before she takes herself out. With the 5th column taken out, Arthur tells us to head straight back to Camelot as we discuss our final plan. It's here where Arthur finally proves everyone wrong that doubted him and starts setting up the plan to attack Westminster. In game, you have to wait 7 days for the battle preparations, which I think is a nice touch, but it's also, I did have to sit in this chair and wait 7 days. But it's not too much time wasted, and with the 7 days pass, I head straight over to the Westminster Bridge. All the Camelot footmen are waiting, and as we speak to Arthur, he decides that he wants to give a final rousing speech to the men. Yeah, it was pretty inspiring. I'm pretty damn ready. And with his speech over, we well and truly enter the point of no return. It's kind of like the Fallout New Vegas Battle of Hoover Dam. Once you click yes, there's no more turning back. And with William Wallace's Claymore sword, it's a truly fitting way to start the battle. We make our way across the bridge completely unopposed, and we can finally enter Westminster again. This time from a completely different part. And we have to fight our way through a lot of angel troopers, clones, I mean, the people who live in Westminster looking outside and seeing all the clones and the troopers, what must they be thinking?
I don't,
Hans. Are we the baddies?
We're unable to penetrate our way into Parliament, so Merlin gives us a bunch of different objectives to do. We've pretty much got to go take all different parts of Westminster that are extremely important. The first place being, well, 10 Downing Street, where the Prime Minister is supposed to live. Unfortunately, we cannot get in the front door, so we have to take the side entrance. And luckily this time, we don't get trapped in a postbox. I also just want to take a moment to be grateful that in every one of these World War II videos, I'm always able to somehow find a general's uniform to run around in. And I think General Atquip's uniform is probably the best one so far. I love the red, I love the monocle that comes with it, I love his little hat, and it just gives me the inspiration and the power to wipe out all these angel soldiers. Now, apologies for the PowerPoint presentation when it comes to wiping out all these people. I tried my best to capture and record gameplay that wasn't so choppy, but this is sometimes the best I can do, and it's probably one of the reasons why this video took so long to come out. With 2 points taken and the Camelot flag flying high, we start making our way towards a massive gate so we can let in our reinforcements. And start using a wide variety of my different weapons, just, you know, you can't take it with you when the gameplay's over. And start just having a lot of fun, because a lot of the soldiers here drop 9mm ammo and 303 ammo, so the Bren and the Sten are very much full. And after giving this red wheel a nice little tickle, we head over to Piccadilly Circus. Now, is it still weird that even though I've been to London, I still think of the Monopoly board every time I read one of these names? Piccadilly Circus, that's one of the yellows. Trafalgar Square is one of the reds. I was in Bronze Street and Regent Street, that's part of the green. And I'm now at the Broadcasting House, which I'm pretty sure isn't a marker on Monopoly. I don't know, it could be. I haven't played Monopoly in a long time. I break out the flamethrower to finish off the last of the Angel Privates. And by finish off, I mean I give them a nice slow bit of cooking. Like, the flamethrower is a very interesting weapon. It doesn't take them out too quick, but my god, it will always get the job done. I mean, look at this. I am standing straight in the pocket. He ain't moving. I ain't moving. And it's taken a while, but I'm gonna get him before I run out of ammo here. And as you can see, cooked nice, medium well done. While I'm going to put up the final flag of Camelot, I wonder what Gordon Ramsay would say to the cooking I've been able to do during this video. I mean, with all those Angel Privates down there, I mean he must be proud, right?
You're a first-class cunt.
Well, at least my mum's probably proud of me. No, I don't have a clip to put in here. And with Onto the Breach finished, I genuinely believed when the screen started blacking out here that the game was finished. And that the end screen was going to pop up and we'd never know anything about Mr. Scythe. But I was wrong. We awake back in front of Parliament and with Merlin standing at the doors of Westminster. He lets us know that he's been injured too much and it's all up to me. And as I walk in, I admire my general's outfit and my lovely shotgun and get to work putting an end to these Angel Troopers. I decided to use off all my heavy ammo that I'd been saving, as like I said, there's no way I'll be taking it with me. And this right here is a definition of a slow cook. I mean, look at that. You can't even catch up as I burn them alive. Super Clone demolishing my ass. So weird how small the sledgehammer is. With every corner you turn in this place, there's always more troops waiting for you. So I decided that I'm going to have a nice little look at the Scottish Thistle to give me the motivation to push through. Nearly at the end of this now, and we've just got a bunch of legendary Super Clone Juggernauts, making me feel a little bit upset that I wasted all of those bazooka shots just on normal Angel Troop soldiers. But luckily for me, the Bren gun does unbelievable amounts of damage, and I would honestly say to anyone, this is probably my favourite gun in this entire game. The only problem is that the ammunition for it is a little bit expensive, but not uncommon, so you know, it's definitely a good weapon for the whole game. With that, we are about to walk through the doors of the House of Commons, and we will finally get answers to the questions we've been asking. Hopefully not in PowerPoint form. And as I'm sure most of you are noticing, a lot of these guys look somewhat familiar. I take a brief look at the ceremonial mace. I take a seat next to, well, me. I sit down and listen to me, and make sure I put on the subtitles to get all of it. Prime Minister me trying to condemn me in front of a bunch of me's. So I ask the only logical question in this moment, instead of using my low intelligence or trying to plead my case, I simply ask, what is going on? Why do you all look like me? And I get the most fair response ever. Why do you look like us? And with all that confusion and nonsense happening, there's a motion carried to unalive me, voted for by me, and brought up by me. I have a lot of questions, but not before I steal the ceremonial mace. And as I'm told to climb Big Ben, I need to fight my way through the last little bits of all the clones. The MG42 comes into good use with very little ammo I've been able to pick up. And before I can get answers, I have to deposit all my weapons into this basket. As you guys can see, we're near the end. All we've got to do is walk up these steps and get the answers we've been looking for. It's time for me to meet my maker. And it turns out my maker is me. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail here. I don't want to go through all the dialogue options because for anyone out here who hasn't finished this game or hasn't been able to play it yet, I don't want to give away too much of the story. But what I will show you is it turns out I am a clone of a man called Mr. Smythe who lived before the bombs. If you guys want to know any more, you guys can have a look for yourself. I did find it very interesting going through them all and reading them all, but that's something you can do in your own time. For now, our challenge is to beat this game as a World War II soldier. And there's nothing more British to a British soldier than ending this game with an umbrella battle. It's here where you're supposed to have a somewhat sword fight with I suppose the main Mr. Smythe. And despite me falling down the stairs, I'm able to take him out. But that just triggers the first phase of the fight. As Big Ben rings out, I've got to follow Mr. Smythe up this ladder. Up here we have our final battle, where me beats up me while me tries to stop me from beating me up. You truly are a despicable me. And with his health taken out one more time, the bell rings, and it rings even longer. When we look up, we're unable to spot where we went. But as we look down, we're given a very, very difficult choice. Are we going to save Smythe or let them drop? And I think as this gameplay went on, and as we've been in the mindset of a World War II soldier, I think there's only one thing to do. It's to let me fall, showing that yes, you can indeed beat Fallout London as a World War II soldier. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you've gotten this far in the video, please leave a comment down below saying WA-ER, W-A-space-E-R. That is the most British comment I can think of. I do apologise for this video coming out later than usual, and unfortunately I've been putting all my time into this video, so I haven't been able to even start recording the next challenge. I want to give a huge thank you to the Fallout London team. This game, not a mod, this is a game, a full game, has been a breath of fresh air for the Fallout community, and I have truly enjoyed playing it, so thank you guys so much. If you guys out there have a PC and you guys want to play it as well, I'd highly recommend it. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys in my next video. Like I said, remember to leave a like, leave a comment, drop a subscribe, it's free, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.